Okay, thank you, Vice President Gable and board members, President Eloy. Okay, so we were engaged to perform the audits of the district's financial statements, both the financial and performance audit of the 2008 Measure E, and that's what we're going to talk about briefly this evening. Our audit process began with a pre-audit conference with management and with the audit subcommittee to discuss the audit plan, our scope, our responsibilities, and management's responsibilities, and to ensure that we would maintain our independence throughout the process. At the conclusion of the audit, we met again with management and the audit subcommittee to review the details of the financial statements and the report that we're issuing, and that's what we're presenting this evening. So management is ultimately responsible for the preparation of the financial statements, and although we assist management, they ultimately have to approve and accept those financial statements. As your auditor, we're responsible for expressing an opinion on whether the financials are fairly stated, and so we obtain evidence for the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements in order to do that, and we perform procedures based on our judgment and our consideration of risk and internal controls and estimates used as such. So in our report, we've issued an unmodified opinion, and you're going to find the actual opinion page right after the table of contents in the report. And on the second page, the first paragraph, it's labeled as opinion. And so what we're saying is that we've issued a clean opinion. The financial statements are fairly stated. The user can rely on the information. I also want to mention that there were no audit adjustments. So we take a look at the 311 and consolidate that and apply certain reporting standards and entries to it. But the data is the same information. There were no audit adjustments per se. And if you're interested in looking at a reconciliation to get you from the 311 report to these financial statements, you'll find a reconciliation on Roman numerals pages 4 and 5 of the management discussion analysis. I'm not going to go over them. As I said, we've gone through all the details with management and the audit committee. What I do want to talk about a little bit is one significant change that occurred this year, and that has to do with the implementation of a new standard, a new reporting standard, GASB 68 and 71, having to do with the recording of pension liabilities. All governmental agencies were required to adopt this new reporting standard, and it resulted in the reporting of an actuarially determined liability for retiree pension benefits for STRS, PERS, and your auxiliary PERS plan. So the total liability, and when you look at the financials, you'll see the total liability of $83 million plus net deferrals, which has a significant impact on the district's net position. Without this net reduction, your unrestricted net position would be a positive $32 million, but with this new reporting standard, you show a negative net position. The district's in the same position as all other districts within and other agencies within the state. The individuals that are interested in reviewing the financial statements, they understand this new standard, they understand the impact, and so you're on the same playing field with everybody else. What's very important is, in terms of the audit, is ensuring that you're able to make your ongoing commitments for those ongoing payments, and also that you're maintaining your healthy reserves, which you are. The other item that I wanted to point out is there was a subsequent event disclosure in the footnotes, and this has to do with your other post-employment benefits. You had a valuation, a new valuation done in November, and it resulted in your health and welfare liability for other post-employment benefits increasing. So the accrued liability, the actuarially determined liability, has increased from $28.3 million to $46.2 million. And the annual required contribution has increased from $2.7 million to $5.2 million. So you're going to see that in next year's report. This is primarily due to increases in eligible plan participants, increased costs associated with medical benefits, and a decrease in the interest rate applied when the actuary does their calculations. And why this is important is that there is a new standard that will be implemented in the 2016-17 year that will require very similar to this year's new standard of reporting the full unfunded liability on the financial statement. So we'll have this new reporting standard that will result again in a large liability being reflected on your external financial statements. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I also want to share that there were no findings as a result of our audit. There are 3 letters at the back of the audit. Each address whether there are any control or compliance issues. So no findings related to financial statement internal controls. No findings related to the state programs that we were required to test, and the state programs are listed on page 90, and no findings related to federal programs tested. And this year we tested the Student Financial Aid Program. So that is the financial audit, hopefully in a concise enough nutshell for you. I'd be happy to take any questions before we move forward with the bond audits, if there are any.
Yeah, and for the record, the board has a audit committee that met with the auditors and had an opportunity to ask questions and to make any comments that we did before this meeting. So any questions concerning the financial audit?
I just have a comment.
Trustee Zia?
I just want to thank you, President Otto, for your leadership on this, and I appreciate being on the committee. The good news is that it was publicly noticed. All my questions were answered. I don't have any remaining questions, and I appreciate the work and effort that you put into it and our staff put into it, and I will vote for it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Actually, and maybe this is a point of order. Do we have to receive each of these separately, or can we receive them all at once?
All at once.
Okay. It's not even a motion. It's just a receive, right?
I will need a vote,
Okay. A vote to receive. Okay.
a motion and a second.
Great. And a third, I thought you said. Oh, sorry. You move on to the second audit, please.
Okay, so the next audit is the Measure E bond financial audit, and so you have a separate report related to that. And in this particular audit, we are just looking at the funds associated with Measure E proceeds. And so again, we've issued an unmodified opinion. Our opinion letter is on page 1 and 2 of the report. Page 2 is where we've listed our opinion. So again, you've received a clean opinion. Financial statements are fairly stated, and the reader can rely on the numbers. I won't go through the financials in detail. They just reflect the ending fund balance at June 30th. They reflect the activity for the year, the revenues and expenses. As part of the audit, we do look to see that expenditures are appropriate for this particular fund. And then there are notes for you to read as well. There's nothing of significance or unusual this year. There is also a independent auditor's report on internal controls, because this, again, is a governmental audit, and so we've issued a clean audit, no findings related to the bond financial audit as well. So unless anybody has any questions on this audit, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Renee, who is responsible for the performance piece of the audit.
Any questions? Once, twice. Renee? Don't walk away, Renee.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I actually have the unusual pleasure of presenting an audit report, if you will, that really doesn't have numbers in it. So it's not something that I get to do. But this is the performance audit piece. So it does go hand in hand to a certain extent with the financial audit that you just reviewed. But here we're focusing more on qualitative aspects of the operations and the spending of the bond proceeds. And of course, the biggest one that we are concerned about is to ensure that the expenditures are on projects that were approved by the voters. So luckily, as we've gone through each of the reports, they've gotten smaller and smaller. So this is a much smaller report. And the opinion is a little bit different than on the financial opinion. You won't find the same wording as far as being fairly stated. And here what we're saying is that in all significant respect, that the board and management has followed the compliance requirements, and the biggest one, again, being that the expenditures were spent on projects that the voters approved. So the language is a little bit different. And the wording as far as significant respects is because, of course, we do sampling. We don't look at every single transaction. So based upon our sampling and what we looked at, we had no exceptions, so therefore we're able to come to that opinion that it was all done in accordance with the requirements that you need to follow. There's some background information. There's also some detail as far as how many expenditures we looked at on a percentage. We do look at a very high percentage of your expenditures, just to make sure that the constituents and everyone will have confidence in the operations that are happening here at the district level.
Can you share that percentage, please?
Yes, we tested 77% of the expenditures within the fund.
Thank you.
So with that, and again, there are no findings related to this audit report as well.
What percentage do you do you test and it's no longer a sample, it's just the whole thing?
We do sampling, but we do test a high level.
I got you.
Just to get that additional assurances. So we tested 70 items, and that ended up being 77% of total expenditures. Following standards, if we select a sample of 40 and have no exceptions, that would be determined to be a statistically sound sample, and so we could really stop at that point, but we do go ahead and expand it a little bit further than that. We'll do testing at the interim period, and then we come back at the end of the year and do additional testing to pick up those additional percentages.
Great. Any questions from members of the board? Comments? Thank you very much. I would Trustee Archuleta.
Thank you for the presentation, and I just want to make a comment that to President Oakley and also to Vice President Gable, just to thank them for their outstanding leadership. I think this audit report is important to our district and to our college because it demonstrates to our constituency that our institution is doing an excellent job in managing the public dollars that we receive. So thank you for that. Thank you. Good job.
I'd entertain a motion to receive all three of these audit reports.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Zia, seconded by Trustee Archuleta. Questions? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Irma Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Thank you for your work.
And can I just thank real quick President Eloy, Vice President Gable, and of course the staff. Emery already said it, but they do work really hard. We ask a lot of them, so we do appreciate their
Great, thanks.
responsiveness. Thank you.
Okay, we are now at agenda item 10, and 10.1 in particular, a report by the Academic Senate President. Better not.
Thank you, President Otto. I have a couple of things I'd like to report. One being that the faculty selected Kenna Hellman as the recipient of the John and Sue Ann Roosh Teaching Excellence Award. And so I wanted to commend her for that. Secondly, I would like to say that, you know, a lot of people think that this job is a thankless job, but I want to say that I'm really proud to serve as the Academic Senate President because I'm really proud of the faculty and the work that they're doing involving all academic and professional matters. You heard a lot of reports tonight, but what I want you to hear is that within each of those reports, there's probably 100 faculty working very, very hard on innovation and doing above and beyond the classroom with the work that they do. Thomas mentioned earlier this evening that there was a group that met on a Friday night for 4 hours. We had over 60 people volunteer to come and talk about the future of this college and contribute to the strategic plan. So I am very grateful to all of the faculty who care so much about our college and our students, and that truly is student success with the work of the faculty. So it speaks very highly of who I get to work with. And then finally, in this season of Thanksgiving, I want to remember to thank our president. To President Oakley, it's been a real privilege and continues to be a privilege to work with a superintendent president who absolutely supports the work of the Academic Senate and the work of faculty with academic and professional matters. So I really want to say thank you because it makes what I do easier, and it's And you can see a real turn and a revival with faculty feeling the support from our board and from our college president and our executive team. And so I thank you very much because it makes what we do a lot easier.
Great, thank you. 10.2 Superintendent President Report.
Thank you, Board President Otto. And the sake of dragging out this meeting even longer, there are a number of issues that I would like to take just a little bit of time, and for some it'll be too much time to address, but I think they're important given that we're approaching the end of the year and a lot of issues have been raised at this board meeting and during the public comment session. First of all, let me first thank Karen Roberts and her negotiating team for all the work that they've been doing and working with the district's negotiating team. I'm happy to know that we are very close to finalizing an agreement, and hopefully that will be consummated soon. And I want to thank you, Karen, for your ongoing advocacy for our part-time faculty. So I'm going to put my next few comments in the context of the year that we're about to end in 2015. This is, as Academic Senate President Kane mentioned, I think a very positive year for this college. And it is a little difficult to end this year on the note that we're ending it on with this board meeting. And, you know, I'm just going to say it. This college is busting its ass to be a great college. And it is constantly recognized in every other circle of this nation. And I think we need to pause at the end of this year and recognize how much work is going in, how much positive things are happening. I think we need to take a page from the Lead Academy, from those participants who work together regardless of differences, regardless of where they come from, are coming together to make this a better college. This is not me or the administration or anybody else. This is a group of staff that are coming together to do what's best for this college and to focus on students. So, you know, as we consider going out for a bond measure, I think we really need to think about how we're portraying this college to the public. There's been a lot of talk about the communication plan, and let me just preface this by saying that I did not participate in one meeting of the ad hoc committee, so none of those recommendations are my recommendations, but I respect that process. One thing I know for sure, that Superintendent President isn't placed in that document to obstruct any board member. This is a public institution. This is public property. My job is to ensure that we utilize every facility in good faith to the public. And so I think the only reason that this whole issue has come up is just to ensure that everyone is given equal opportunity to access facilities, that every group is given equal opportunity to access the board, not to get in the way of the board members. I welcome board members on this campus, but this is a public facility. And so we need to treat it that way. And we also have competing organizations who are vying for the attention of board members. So to the extent that I can help, I'm happy to help. If you want me out of that, I'm happy to get out of that. But the point is to try and make it a better process, not to get in the way of the process. I want to thank every member of the Lead Academy. You had a great year. I want to thank Karen and Rose for having a wonderful first cohort. It really did end up as a wonderful opportunity for all of us to witness what's great about Long Beach City College. I want to thank all the athletic coaches who did an outstanding job this fall of really having one of the best semesters for our athletic program in many, many, many years. Yes, we won one state championship. We almost got to another state championship. We had several teams in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, it's about how these students exhibited pride in their institution. And they all exhibited great pride. And I want to thank the coaching staff for the great work that they did this fall. And I'm looking forward to all the great work that's going to happen in the spring. This college was recognized recently by one of the premier periodicals in the world, the New York Times. It is not easy to get into the New York Times. It's one of the hardest publications to have a word in the New York Times. And that publication thought it was worthwhile to talk about Long Beach City College. Yes, there is much work to be done. We have a long way to go. But I think we need to take a pause and just think about what that means for our students. You know, my job is to represent not only the voices that are here at the board meeting, but the thousands of voices that don't come to the board meeting. And our students are part of that. And every conversation we are having here should be focused on what's best for them at the end of the day. There was a lot of great information about safety and security today, and I just want to continue my pledge that we are going to continue to work to do whatever we can do to gather information and to adopt practices and procedures that place faculty, staff, and student safety at the forefront of all of those procedures. And I welcome all the leaders here, Janae and Karen and Thomas and others, to encourage our staff to attend the many training sessions that are happening. We need as much input as possible. And I know we had some very impassioned presentations here at previous board meetings. I hope that that same passion extends to every one of these opportunities that we open up for all of our faculty and staff. Finally, I'm going to end with I had a number of faculty forward to me a resolution by CCA. And obviously, we are working hard to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with CCA. My doors have been wide open to the organization, to its leadership, to whoever wants to come in. I've met with the president, with members of the e-board, with the chief negotiator. And so I was a little bit taken aback that this came in the way it did, especially given that we've had many opportunities to talk about many of these points. But nonetheless, I'm going to take a minute to just address some of the key issues for our members of the CCA, but most importantly for the members of the audience who may at some point listen to this board meeting in their most bored times of the day. But nonetheless, let me just say this. There is question raised about not making headway to fairly compensate faculty for their hard work and numerous accomplishments. I think that there has been a number of efforts made to respect our faculty in many, many ways. We just adopted and ratified a new salary schedule that took the better part of a year to negotiate and to work on. I think that is an extremely great representation of the respect that all of us feel for our full-time faculty. There may be some who don't agree with that salary schedule. Nonetheless, it did require a lot of time and effort and work to get there. And it respects incoming faculty as well as many of our faculty who've been here for many, many years. Can it be improved? Always. And we will continue to work on that. The college continues to negotiate in good faith with faculty. And I know there's been questions raised in this resolution about givebacks. We don't approach issues in negotiations of givebacks. Both sides negotiate on what they feel is best for their constituents. And both sides give and both sides get. And in each one of those negotiations, we sat down and worked in good faith with our faculty counterparts to ensure that we came up with the best agreement possible. Some may consider that a giveback. I can certainly think of many givebacks that the district gave over the years, but that's not the way we approach it. We approach it in a good faith effort to come up with the best contract possible. And that's what we will continue to do. Questions about the cost of living allowance increase and other small tokens to the faculty. I think that's disingenuous. There is no small token to the faculty. We've invested tremendously in professional development for our faculty, and they deserve it. we have hired a tremendous amount of new faculty, which is a tremendous investment in the future of our academy, and we will continue to invest in them. In addition, we've invested tremendously in the classified staff that supports our faculty, and that's an investment we are going to continue to make. By next spring, we will have more classified staff than we had at the beginning of this recession. That is a testament to the respect we have for our faculty. There's been questions about all the new funds that the district has received. Those funds are for a very specific purpose, the success of our students. And I will be hard-pressed to divert any of those funds to any other function other than those intended by the legislature and the governor, which are to improve student success. Yes, there are ways that we can use those funds to invest in faculty on a one-time basis, and we will certainly look at those. But at least from my point of view, and I certainly can't speak for the board, cannot recommend that those funds be used for ongoing salaries. Those are specifically to support our students and their success. I will certainly continue to advocate for more resources, more general fund resources from the state, which certainly are open to negotiations as long as they're ongoing funds. There's questions about the hourly pay for our full-time faculty. That is certainly something that we have sat down with our faculty colleagues and agreed that we would discuss and see how we can improve. I have confidence that we can improve the hourly pay for our full-time faculty. Without going into, I'm not going to go over all the whereases that have come up. I think that the district, certainly my team, will continue to work with the leadership of both the CCA and the Faculty Senate to do what we can to invest in the future of our full-time faculty, to invest in their equipment, in their classrooms, in their professional development, and yes, in their salary. So I'm going to stop there, and that concludes my comments.
You and student trustee Lemelli.
I'm going to start asking that I move my report either at the beginning or at the end. Yeah, I always lose my train of thought. Anyway, so if you guys don't know, you should know it's finals week. If you see students out there that are struggling, please offer any help. This is a time where we will be going to office hours to the very max. But it's an exciting time. It's the end of the semester, fall semester. A lot of stressed out students. I can attest to that. Everyone I know, Dal can attest to that. So we're just excited to end the semester. Hopefully we finish strong. Looking forward to the break. Really excited that the spring classes are out. And because of that, part of that, so the transfer application for UC deadline got extended. So that was a really exciting thing. I won't be applying to UC because I'm just trying to stay out of Cal State, but I know a lot of friends who are struggling with the UC application, and just seeing that was sort of disheartening at first because it's all those that applied are a little, I guess, felt betrayed by the fact that they couldn't adjust their personal statements. But we understand the intention that there's a disproportionate amount of transfers to the UC system and increasing the number of UC students from community colleges by 5,000 this year. So it's an awesome thing that the UC system is doing for us. And yeah, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of recognition there. So finals week, application deadline, and then CRAM. So a lot of students came out to CRAM. CRAM stands for Coffee Relief and Academic Mastering Night. In ASB, we are not very good with acronyms, but we try our best. So it's basically a thing we did for finals week to prepare students for finals. It usually happens the week before because no one wants to really hang out with us during finals week. So we open our student life area a little later than usual until 11 p.m. and it's a really great place for students to come and hang out and actually get one-on-one help with tutors, because during finals week, that's when it actually gets stressful and tutors are booked to the max if they're even available. So that's a great thing that we provide for students, and we're looking forward to expanding that on a larger scale in the future. But yeah, sorry I'm like a little winded. It was a great meeting. A lot of interesting comments. I will be focusing more on bringing students here. We had one student come up during public comments. So that's awesome. I will do my best to bring as many students as I can as possible. That's something we really need to focus on too. Constituent groups are not only faculty and staff and community leaders, but students as well. So thanks.
Thank you. Trustee comments, Trustee Zia.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to open up my remarks with saying that, again, I'd like to reiterate that none of the comments I've made to date is any indication that anybody's doing a bad job. I've been called names on this board by a couple of trustees. I don't appreciate it. I don't think that's the way this board should conduct itself. I don't do that, and I'm not going to dignify it or qualify those statements. And I also want to say that Superintendent Oakley, I think you're doing a good job. I've said that before. There's nothing personal here, so I don't know why people's feelings are being hurt. This is about, you guys some of you may call me a heretic, but this is about going above and beyond and making us even better and even greater. And I want to just put that out there that I think we're doing a great job. Just because I don't agree on everything and every item and don't march in lockstep on everything, that doesn't mean that we're doing a bad job. And I'm not a rubber stamp board member. So on November 12th, Trustee Baxter and I attended the annual Lakewood Award of Valor luncheon honoring sheriff's deputies, firefighters, paramedics, and residents for acts of heroism and extraordinary public safety service. On the same date, on November 12th, I also attended a potluck hosted by our faculty and staff at PCC Horticultural Garden. It was great to see Vice President Terry Long, who has the long left, no pun intended, and our faculty and staff, and I look forward to more opportunities like this, and I want to commend our staff for putting that together. As you heard earlier today, Trustee Baxter and I, in partnership with Councilwoman Susie Price, Port of Long Beach employees, members of the Long Beach Rotary, American Association of University Women, Jewish Federation, Long Beach City College staff and associated student body, and local business owners have initiated an effort to provide support for Long Beach City College homeless students' basic needs during the holiday season. Now, I must add that not even 1 cent of district expenditures were spent on this effort. This is all through the foundation and private money. Hundreds of products, including non-perishable food, hygiene products, socks, and monetary contributions for books and tuitions have been donated to the Long Beach City College Foundation since the kickoff of the project on November 17th, 2015. I'd like to thank the following individuals and organizations for their support that we discussed earlier, that we acknowledged earlier. Mr. Hank and Miss Joyce Feldman, President of Jewish Federation of Greater Long Beach and West Orange County and owner of Performance Plus Tire Stores, who donated 26 boxes of non-perishable food items. Mr. Larkins, Mr. Walter Larkins, he's a member of the Long Beach Rotary and CEO of CDR Financial. And Mr. Brian Russell, Long Beach Rotary, Coldwell Banker, Commercial Brokerage. Port of Long Beach Employees Club, our Chief Executive John Slangerup, Communications Director Michael Gold and his team, along with all the Port employees who contributed to this cause and this effort. And they sent mass communications port-wide on multiple occasions, and they're continuing to do that, and I'd like to thank them. Ms. Frances Rosner, American Association of University Women, Councilwoman Susie Price, of course, she couldn't be here tonight because she has her own council meeting, and Assembly Member Patrick O'Donnell and his staff member, Allison Gallagher. This effort is one of the goals of a task force for homeless students Trustee Baxter and I have formed together with LBCC Foundation Board of Governors, Governor member Karen Codman and members of the community. The short-term goal of the task force is to support the basic needs of students facing hunger and housing instability by providing food, hygiene products, and scholarships to help with tuition, books, and bus passes. The near-term goal of the task force is to provide support for housing of LBCC's homeless students.